Hello and welcome back to another Warmachine Battle Report. I'm glad to bring this one to you. It's been a long time. I stopped doing these so much because, there's a lot of other channels that make a lot of better battle reports. I know some people like these shorter versions, but, they're low quality. We can all be honest here. But, with the pandemic going on and now finally us playing back in person, I just really wanted to enjoy this, and I actually got to play a list that I love and I really want to share. So the perfect scenario happened here where we had Canada Day. So here, of course, everybody had time off. Also, starting on this day as well, our province opened up, and so everyone can now get together and, do whatever they wanted to, basically. Didn't need to mask up, didn't have to do anything like that. So a bunch of people that I haven't seen and gotten to play with in a very long time, I got them together and just like, hey, let's have some nice chill Warmachine in my garage. I know that a lot of us haven't played in like a year and a half. I mean, I've been doing a lot of War Table, but these guys haven't. And so I was like, you know what? Let's just reintroduce ourselves back to the rules, have some fun, and get back at it. So with that, let's look at what I went with. So for me, I decided to go with Magnus1. Magnus1 is kind of like a nice, I don't know how I'd really put this. It was just my own little snowflake. Everybody hates Magnus1. I keep on trying to make it work, and my favorite list with it is the one where I'm taking a whole bunch of Buccaneers, a whole bunch of lights, because the way it works is that I run up 12, I pop my feet, and Magnus1 says they get to run again, and so I basically get 24 inches of board coverage all in one go. And so what you can do with that is just be controlling the board, which means maybe you're winning on scenario, or because you have so many jacks and it's so hard for them to kill them, sometimes just win on death clock. So I love this list. Now, looking at what my opponent Ryan took, he went with Damiano. Now, this is a kind of a crazy list that he's put together here, and one of the things I should really stress going into this is that, I'm obviously going for something here where my main win condition is going to be death clock. And hey, wouldn't you know it, when you're not used to the game and you're coming back to it, you're going to be slow. And so I have a significant advantage in going for the death clock in this scenario, especially because, as you're going to see, his list is a little bit intricate and has a lot of different moving parts. But hey, we're all just out there trying to have lots of fun. And I gotta say, there's actually some parts in this list that are going to hit me really hard. But we'll go over this in just a second. Alright, so since we're both playing Mercenaries, I can actually just show this in one screen. So I'm going to start with my list first. And so like I said, I have Magnus1, 14 Buccaneers. Every single Buccaneer I own is in here. I actually had to paint up the last one just for this game because I haven't used it in a long time. And then 1 Talon's thrown in there. Now, I know a lot of you are probably saying to yourself, but Malorian, wouldn't you just rather do the Talon because it's vastly superior for the same points? Well, I would if I could. These would all be Talons because it's just a lot nicer to have a stronger weapon, stronger armor, get the stationary things. Those all sound very good, but whatever. For some reason, they decided Buccaneers should be 7 points and not 6. I'm really hopeful that now that we're underneath a little bit new dev direction, maybe they can go back down to 6. But either way, this is what I have, so this is what we're doing. Just know that, if they were 6 points, there should be another Toro in here as well. But whatever. Who needs another heavy? Otherwise, that uses up all my 75 points, so the only other things I get are my free options, which is going to be Anastasia, because I like going first. It's going to be Irregulars 1, because I actually sometimes I lean towards Eiryss 2 because going for combat and disruption hits is sometimes easier than the shot. But in this theme, Soldiers of Fortune, that's the only one you can take. And again, when you're trying to control the board, if I can go and disrupt something, it's really powerful. And I also have Stannis Brocker. Now, something I should probably explain is why am I in Soldiers of Fortune and not some other theme? If I was in Irregulars, I could have some other solos and I'd be able to reroll to go first. Well, the biggest thing here again is I want to be controlling the board. So Stannis Brocker in this really becomes like another light in terms of the beef he brings to the table. However, he also has Bulldozer. So it's a fantastic model to bump things out of zones or away from flags or whatever I need. And then as well, something I'll be getting inside of this is Mark Target. So when I want to hit with things like Eiryss, that can go great, and it can really make sure I connect that shot. Or even with something like Magnus, where if I want to spray away a bunch of infantry, I can get in there with Stannis Brocker or something that's pretty beefy, and then get +2 to hit all these things around him with my spray attack. So that's the reason why I'm in Soldiers of Fortune. Now, I should say this too. Obviously, looking at my list here, I am not trying to win by assassination or attrition. If I had that extra Toro, okay, maybe, but this is a list that is purely 100% is just geared towards trying to win on scenario or death clock. All right, let's look at Ryan's list over there. This one is in Irregulars. It has Damiano, and for those that can't remember, Damiano's feat is the one that gives all your friendly faction models +3 strength and also +3 armor. It's running 2 Toros and a Rocinante. Also a Sylys there for a nice free upkeep. There's also the boss MacHorne running a Mangler, and so just so you know some of the tech in there, the Boss MacHorne has that dismantle or whatever, so you get an extra dice of damage against warjacks. That also goes to the Mangler, so that can do some real work. As well, because this is Infernals, there's flank there as well for the Mangler, so the Mangler's Thresher can be super scary. There's also J.A.I.M.s there, Scythe, and then Asphyxious the Sanctified, and this is running a Stalker, so a nice little normal type of thing you'd be taking here. And something to be thinking about this is that this is already a 5-point armor swing, because you have the whole Death Shroud or whatever from Gaspy, where you're going to be reducing my armor by 2. And then through Damiano, you also have the feat, which is going to be raising the damage by 3. So that's going to do pretty good. There's also the Idrians there with the UA. And so overall, like I was saying, with the Prey there, that could also be like a 7-point damage swing. And that is just going to decimate, a whole bunch of lights. And so that's what I'm saying is that, really I have a big advantage in here that I'm taking a list designed to win on Death Clock against someone that is, hasn't played in a year and a half, and they're playing a complicated army, and it's going to take them some time. However, this is also a list that can just be doing tremendous amounts of damage to me. So we're going to have to see how it goes. All right, so looking at deployment here, he won the role to go first, so that's not good for me, but it's actually not the worst either. I mean, normally, I sometimes actually like going second with this list because they just can't get very far up, and then I can feed into them. And when you're going second, you're the first one to score, which is what I'm all about in this list. Now, since he has AD, normally I actually like going first because I can engage your AD line before you even go, and then they're kind of like in the way of your other stuff. But hey, whatever. I don't have any power here. We'll just kind of go with this. So in this scenario, what I'm going to try and do is really, I have to cover both sides equally. So I need to make sure there's enough things on the right to go over there and try and deal with that flag. And obviously I can see from his deployment that he has 3 heavies over here. So there's going to be a lot of damage output that they can actually do, especially with Scythe as well. Like Scythe can just aim, just be like plink, 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 and just like cripple out or destroy a light every single turn. So that's something I'd like to deal with. And on the left side, of course, that's where Asphyxious is, because there's the spot you can be scoring with the unit. And whereas probably the Idrians are going to try and stop me from taking all the board, Gaspy just wants to try and control and crush that side and start scoring that circle. And one of the biggest things I did for a little bit of counterplay is that is why Eiryss is there. Eiryss's job is to go up and make sure I want to be shooting Asphyxious and giving him no focus, because normally you'd be going after a caster to shut them down, or maybe a problematic heavy, and really that's what Gaspy turns out being, right? It is just a beast, and if I can make sure it's making 1 attack per turn and not 6, that is really, really going to help me. So that's the plan. Going to run up there, try and bog him down. I want to score my flag as much as possible, and then either win on scenario if possible, but more than likely this is going to be a death clock type thing. All right, so his turn 1, basically what he does is he realizes that if he doesn't do it, I'm going to take the board. He doesn't want to be fighting outside of the scenario elements, so he just runs up. So the Idrians run up. Gaspy goes a little bit more carefully and puts up some clouds. Probably could have just ran there, but being a little bit more careful because he knows the whole Eiryss plan. Otherwise, yeah, things moving up, and he gets a couple of spells here. So the two ones that really matter is that there's going to be Death March up on the Idrians. So those are going to be having +2 mat, and then also they're going to be having Vengeance. And then the other thing is he's going to be putting Surefoot up onto Asphyxious' unit. So that's going to be giving them +2 defense and no knockdown. So that's a great spell to put there. You know, having a defense 16 Gaspy is wonderful. And compared to other Archons that can't be knocked down, Gaspy can be. So Surefoot stops that, and it's a pretty nice thing to have on there. So overall, you know, he's up there. He's kind of made sure that there's a lot of the board that I can't take from him now. However, there's enough room that I can really get in there. And because he got so close, I might actually throw some nets. Normally I wouldn't. Normally I would just run up. But I might as well try and knock down some of those front Idrians, because if I do, well, then that means that they might get in the way of other stuff. So that's what we're going to do. All right, so in my turn 1, that's what I'm going to do is basically Magnus goes first. He's going to be putting the Iron Aggression onto 1 Jack, and then, of course, Death Ward, which is going to be giving +2 armor, and I decide where the damage goes, is going to go onto the Talon. Now, I should also mention that he has 2 instances of prey, one from the Idrians and one from J.A.I.M.s, but I'm going to be basically being able to play around with that, and he's never going to be able to take advantage of it. So basically know that he did put down prey, but he's not going to be able to get those targets onto where he wants them. So basically I go up there and I feat, I charge up, or assault rather, with my Buccaneers. I knock down 4 of his Idrians, even one that was in the forest where I needed double 6s. Hey, sometimes lucky gets luck. And so what that allowed me to do is also very easily run past them. I think I already had room to run past them anyway, but this really allowed me to make sure I had 3 Jacks now already up there blocking off his flag. All the Idrians are all tied up. A lot of those knockdown ones will not be able to make any attacks because I stayed out of half of an inch. And yeah, I know that he'll be able to hit me with some things, but that's why I have layers here. I have Buccaneers behind. They'll be the next wave going in. I already have Stannis on the flag, and I also put Stannis in the rubble there just to make sure he doesn't get cute with Scythe and maybe gets lucky and kills me or something like that. All right, so on turn 2, he starts doing his best work against me, and he obviously sees, like, okay, this is going to be a go time. We have to go do some real damage, so Damiano pops that feat. So +3 damage time. We're going to see what he can do. That means even these Idrians are going to be, you know, basically P+S13. That's really why it's really important to tie them up as well, because if I can tie them up, they can't get charges. They might as well get a normal +2 damage again when they charge, but that's not going to happen here. His backline actually could charge in, but then I'd have set defense. So that's the one thing I'll give you that Buccaneers have is set defense, which would make me defense 15. He didn't want to deal with that, so he just walked up and hit me. So a little bit of damage around from the Idrians, nothing too crazy. And then the heavies start coming in. So, of course, with the 2 Toros on the right, they come in and they do some damage onto my Jacks there on the right. Still nothing really too bad. I think I have a Cortex out or something like that. As well, he has the Mangler come up and do 1 hit. Can't really do too much. And then Gaspy, I was a little bit lazy here. You know, I didn't really think it was a threat if he flickered, and he went for it and got into that 1 Jack number 4 there, the Buccaneer right above the house. house and really messes it up. So that's just dumb on me. I should have been like another half inch back and then I would have been safe. But yeah, I basically now lost a Buccaneer for no reason. Otherwise, Rocinante goes up there and tries to take a shot. Even though he knows he's going to miss on Eiryss, it's going to scatter. He hoped to kill me with the scatter, but it scattered too far. On the left, the Stalker kind of goes up and tries to go after my Buccaneer. Doesn't really have really good dice, so it doesn't do too much. And yeah, that's really it. I mean, I think the one thing I expected him to do is boss MacHorne coming in and like slamming me into the building. But at this point, he was wanting to kind of like save her and hold her back. So I can kind of understand that, because that Mangler is going to be doing lots of work. And if I can go and kill her, then that kind of takes away the whole Jack Marshall part of it. So, okay, he's playing it a little bit safe. So looking at this and what I plan to do on my next turn here, at first I was going to try and kill some key things out there. So one, I wanted to kill J.A.I.M.s there on the right, because she can just run through my models and can get to my flag and contest, and I need to be scoring every point I can, not only because if I'm going to win on scenario, I have to win on fast because all my stuff dies, but then two, if I can score a lot of points early, even if he starts killing all my stuff, he'll need to start spending time to get his own scenario points, and that can mean that things are going another turn or two, and that's what I might need for a death clock victory. So at first, that's what I thought was going to be my goal, until I started making some attacks and realizing, oh yeah, you have +3 armor and I have only POW 12 weapons, so that's not going to happen. So really what I'm going to do on this turn is try and kill off as many Idrians as possible, and then I really need to get Gaspy. So what I'm going to do is have Anastasia come on the left. She'll run in to mark the target. That one Buccaneer is going to have to go and take some free strikes and die, but then Eiryss can just aim, and my Rat 9 aims up to an 11, mark target, takes me up to basically a Rat 13, and yeah, we're going to make sure that that Gaspy is not going to be doing too much. So after that's all done, this is how it looks. You know, now Stannis is back here actually scoring my first scenario point. I had one Buccaneer that's still trying to get around there, trying to contest up that flag of his. As you can see here to the Idrians, I killed a lot of them. So he is going to get vengeance, but I actually don't care. One good thing here to think about is that Idrian attacks against me, even though they're +2 mat, they're now going to be off 6 damage for the most part. And so those attacks are really just draining his clock if he wants to make them. I actually consider killing one Idrian and leaving the rest, but I didn't want to take the chance that he just gets some massive damage spikes and really swings things his way. Otherwise, you can see there, Anastasia came in, the Buccaneer moved away, it died, I landed the shot, so that's great. Gaspy's only going to get the one attack, and because of how he's going to have no focus, he might want to be a little bit more defensive too, because maybe if all my Buccaneers work together, I might be able to attack him and do something. I don't know, but I felt really good here, right? I did a lot of work. I'm already up a good ways on clock. Now I know he's going to spend a lot more clock trying to chew even more, and I don't know. We'll have to see if he decides to go and try and contest my flag. If he does, Stannis can kill J.A.I.M.s pretty easily now that it's not on the feet, but we'll see what he does. All right, so on his turn 3, what he really does here is just try to clear up as much as he can. Really, honestly, that's all you can really try and do against me. And he does a pretty good job of it. As you can see up there, all 3 of my lights that I originally had contesting his flag, including my Talon that was armor 20, he killed all of those. So that was really good for him. Luckily, I still had the one up there that was still contesting it. So J.A.I.M.s, instead of going after my flag, charged in there, tried to do some damage. So didn't really get it done. And so that was fantastic for me. I'm going to score another point. In the middle, though, oh boy, this is where it really started happening. That Mangler on Boss MacHorne that has the dismantle and all that stuff comes in and gets a Thresher and hits 4 of my lights and that was devastating. This really showed the mistake that I made by going in there to try and kill off all these Idrians, because I should have been holding more of these back so that he wouldn't get these awesome threshers. Or maybe I should have been trying to knock him down so he can't move to the right spot, because that's the big thing about these Jack Marshall Jacks, is that they don't have a focus to shake things if they get knocked down. So I really feel I didn't manage that Mangler right, and I've really paid the price. Otherwise, on the left, like Gaspy made his one attack, and Rocinante came in and shot Anastasia in the face, but really didn't do too much else. I mean, sure, the Stalker killed the Jack. Okay, that's fine, but I'm feeling pretty good here, and I kind of feel that I can probably do the same thing to Gaspy again, probably kill the Stalker, and really just kind of slow things down. So at the end of this turn, that's his side of turn 3, I'm now up 2 scenario points to 0, and even though obviously the attrition is going to go worse and worse against me, I'm looking pretty good, actually. So going on to my side of 3, my main objective here was just to get more things contesting the flag, really kind of do what I can so that he's going to have to make these attacks, and if I can, try and kill off some annoying pieces. So what I mean by that is I try and make some attacks into J.A.I.M.s there at the top. They don't work. I'm not able to kill it, so what can you do? On the middle there, I tried making some attacks against Boss MacHorne. Those didn't work. Okay, what are you going to do? And then on the left, my one that had Iron Aggression, so it gets boosted to hits, it's able to kill the Stalker, so that's fantastic. I move away and take a free strike, and then again, Irregulars aims and shoots Gaspy, getting the Disruptor Bolt again, so again, not going to have any extra focus. That's fantastic, and I score my flag again. So looking really good here. I mean, honestly, at this point, he doesn't have a lot of clock. He's pretty much guaranteed to be clocking next turn. So that's already kind of like a win-win. But, we did say no matter what, going into this next turn, don't rush it. We both know you're going to clock. So just take your time and do everything that you would normally do if you'd been playing faster up until this point. So that's what he does, and really kills off a lot of things. His goal here was to try and counter score. He wanted to kill what was around the flag, and if possible, maybe clear out the zone as well. And you can see from his flag where Scythe is, he was able to do that. So with them working together, they were able to kill everything around that. That Mangler with that goddamn Thresher, and also Boss MacHorne there now as well, really messed up those Buccaneers as well. And then on the left side, Rocinante comes in and Gaspy comes in, but at the end of the day, he's not able to empty out the zone. I still have the 2 Buccaneers over there. And I mean, like, overall, remember, I came into this with 15 Jacks. I had 14 Buccaneers and a Talon, but yeah, I now have only 4 Buccaneers, and they're all half dead. Like I said, though, during this turn, kind of midway through, really, he clocked, but whatever. Really, the main thing is at the end of this turn here, he scores a point, I score a point, so it's now 4-1. And I think the good way that we should be thinking about this is, of course, yeah, Ryan would normally be playing faster, and so there'd be probably another turn to this. So if I did get to go again, I'd just be going to contest his flag, scoring my flag, and then on his turn, he would just be having to spend all that time trying to first clear these things out and then trying to counter score. And hopefully, like I said, I'd be enough on scenario that he would clock either on the next turn or one of the further ones. So there you go. I get the win. So looking at this game, it was just a fantastic one to have. I mean, what actually happened in the game aside, it was so nice again to be playing in person, seeing these people that I haven't seen in a very long time. The press ganger in me was proud for getting these people out and playing again. And then for what happened in the game, you know what? I do love this Buccaneer list. It is so different. Nobody is playing anything like this, right? The idea of just like, hey, I'm going to run up 2 feet up the board with like 15 lights and like, okay, we can see how much damage you can do. People just aren't doing that. And I do think that one of the better things to be thinking here is that this is also probably not the right meta for this list. You know, in a world where there's hermits and death archons and they can be doing like double threshers and, you know, just crushing all these lights, it's very difficult for this actually to work right now just because things are so strong and hit so hard. Maybe this would be more viable, like I said, if all these things were Talons, but, you know, these are the models I have, or if there were 6 points instead of 7, so I'd have another heavy in there, because once you have another heavy or two in the list, what that means is that they have to be a lot more respectful, right? If they decide just to throw in Gaspy, well, Gaspy's gonna die, right? If it's up there with no camp and I have a heavy. So it really kind of like changes the dynamic of the game and how aggressive he can be. Given that they are 7 points, it probably would be right to try and take a couple out and actually put in a heavy, but screw it. I wanted to use all my Buccaneers and I did. So there you go. There's the battle report. You got to see the Buccaneers do their thing. You got to see another battle report here, you know, post-pandemic. I do want to get back to trying doing at least once of these a month. So, I mean, don't expect these to see these all the time. If that's what you want, there's a lot of other better channels that really focus on battle reports. But hey, I still love making them, especially when I get to do silly things like this. So if you want jank battle reports, sure, this will be the place for it. So there you have it. Thanks for watching. If you have any comments on the list, the game, anything like that, please put it down below. But otherwise, we'll catch you later. Bye.